Do you want the full 5 yuan? General Director Tran flung the performance evaluation sheet onto the table in front of me. Do you think you deserve that amount? I stared at the paper. Year-end performance review. The project I led had ranked first in the entire group. And yet he had rated me a C. General Director Tran, that project was the result of the whole team's effort. He cut me off. What could you have accomplished on your own? I clenched my fists. It had been 3 years. For 3 years, every promotion, every raise had skipped over me. He said I lacked ability. Fine, I stood up. I don't need the 5.000 anymore. What do you mean? I quit. General Director Tran laughed. You think anyone out there would want to hire you? I didn't answer, because on my phone there was a message waiting. Chu Lin, 20 Technology. Salary 500.000. We sincerely hope you will join us. The conference room was so quiet I could hear the low hum of the air conditioner. The smile still hung on General Director Tran's face, edged with mockery, as if he were watching a joke unfold. Chu Lin, you've worked at this company for 3 years. He leaned back in his chair. I'm the one who watched you grow. Here it came again. Every time we talked about compensation, he played the emotional card. When you first arrived, you didn't know anything. I taught you step by step. I said nothing. 3 years ago, it was true, I didn't know anything. But now the entire East China supply chain system had been built by my own hands from the ground up. General Director Tran, I'm serious about resigning. Resigning? He withdrew his smile. Have you thought this through? I have. Chu Lin, his tone shifted, edged with warning. Do you know how small this industry is? If you leave on bad terms, how are you going to survive in this circle? I looked at him. This was his ultimate weapon. For 3 years, he had used that same sentence to keep countless people from leaving. I'll handle whatever happens in the industry. General Director Tran, I've already sent my handover list to your email. In accordance with labor law, I'm giving 30 days notice. On the 15th of next month, I'll officially leave. Wait, he stood up too, his expression darkening. About the 5 yuan, we can discuss it again. There's nothing to discuss. I can raise it to 8.000. I opened the conference room door. Chu Lin. I didn't turn around. When I stepped out, I saw Trong Latan from reception peeking out to watch me. By tomorrow, the entire company would know the version of the story where I was scolded and driven out by General Director Tran. It didn't matter. I opened my phone and tapped the message again. 20 Technology, Intelligent Supply Chain Department, Director Position, Annual Salary 500.000 plus Project Commission. The sender was Vong Tin, one of the most famous headhunters in the industry. She had been contacting me for 3 months. I had always refused because I wanted to give General Director Tran one more chance. Now I didn't need to. I opened the chat window and typed 4 words. I accept the offer. Back at my desk, I began packing my things. 3 years of accumulation filled only 2 cardboard boxes. Chu Lin. I looked up. It was Sister Lee from Finance. General Director Tran asked me to talk to you about the 5 yuan. There's no need. Think it over again. She lowered her voice. You know how General Director Tran is. If you're a little softer with him, he'll still be willing to pay. Be softer with him? The first year, he said I was new and rated me C. My year-end bonus was cut. The second year, he said I lacked experience and rated me B. My year-end bonus stayed the same. The third year, the project I led ranked first in the group. He said the credit belonged to the team and rated me C. I had been soft with him for 3 years. What had I gained? Sister Lee, thank you for your kindness. That stubborn girl, she sighed and walked away. At 4 in the afternoon, General Director Tran called me into his office again. Sit. I sat down. Chu Lin, you followed me for 3 years. I don't want to beat around the bush. He lit a cigarette. If you're willing to stay, I can promote you to team leader. Team leader? Your base salary will increase by 2.000. But the performance evaluation would still be decided by him. General Director Tran, that won't be necessary. What exactly do you want? What I want, you can't give. Try me. Fairness. He froze for a moment, then laughed. Chu Lin, there's no such thing as absolute fairness in the workplace. He was right. That's why I choose to leave. I stood up. General Director Tran, take your time smoking. I still have work to hand over. I walked out of the office. Behind me, I heard the sharp crack of an ashtray being slammed onto the desk. I didn't need to read his expression anymore. After the news of my resignation spread, my colleagues reacted in all kinds of ways. Some were gleeful, some pretended to care, some genuinely felt sorry for me. Shu Lin, have you really thought this through? True Tuyet pulled me into the break room. General Director Tran may be stingy, but at least it's a stable job. True Tuyet was someone I had brought into the company. 3 years ago, she didn't even know how to use Excel. Now she was General Director Tran's trusted confidant. Last year she had been promoted to team leader. I've thought it through. Where are you going next? Not decided yet. I had no intention of telling her. Shu Lin, there's something I don't know if I should say. She hesitated. Actually, General Director Tran values you quite a bit. He just doesn't express it well. I looked at her. 3 years ago, I had taught her every formula line by line. 2 years ago, I had taken over her workload for a month so she could go home for her wedding. 1 year ago, she had gone into General Director Tran's office and said, "This project is too much for Chu Lin to handle alone. She needs help." The help added was her cousin. Soon after, she was promoted to team leader. True Tuyet, I know you mean well. I smiled, but I've really made up my mind. Then before you leave, could you further improve the system operation manual for the supply chain? She hesitated slightly. General Director Tran said that after you leave, someone needs to take over this area. Someone? It's General Director Tran's idea. Her eyes flickered. I'll learn first. Anything I don't understand, I'll ask you. Suddenly, I felt like laughing. For 3 years, I had built the system from zero by myself. She planned to learn it in 1 month and take over. No wonder General Director Tran refused to give me 5 yuan. He thought I was replaceable. The operation manual is already finished. It's in the shared drive. That's it? True Tuyet frowned. Shu Lin, your attitude. True Tuyet, I cut her off. The person I need to hand over to is whoever General Director Tran designates. Not you. Her expression changed. What do you mean? Nothing. I walked out of the break room. General Director Tran hasn't even signed off yet. Why are you in such a hurry? That night, when I got home, I opened my laptop and began organizing the achievements of the past 3 years. Project documentation, process flowcharts, client files, negotiation records, more than 200 files in total. All of them had backups on the company server. But there was one thing the server didn't have. I opened an encrypted folder. Inside was a set of algorithmic models I had developed myself. This model could increase supply chain efficiency by another 40%. 3 years ago, I had proposed it to General Director Tran. He said it wasn't necessary. 2 years ago, I proposed it again. He said the company didn't have the budget. 1 year ago, I stopped proposing it, because I knew that even if I completed it, the credit wouldn't be mine. I saved the algorithm package onto my personal external hard drive. Now it was my trump card. My phone rang. It was Vong Tin. Shu Lin, 20 Technology would like to schedule your interview as soon as possible. Are you available this Saturday? Yes. That's great. To be honest, General Director Tun specifically asked to meet you. General Director Tun, the CEO of 20 Technology, was a legendary figure in the industry. How does he know about me? He's been following the East China supply chain project you led. Vong Tin said. He said that being able to improve efficiency by 35% in 3 years, someone like that is not simple. 35%. That was my achievement. General Director Tran had never publicly mentioned that number. He only said it was thanks to the team's collective effort. Ms. Vong, Saturday it is. I'll send you the address. After hanging up, I leaned back in my chair. For the first time in 3 years, someone had told me that my work was not simple. Not that I was young. Not that I lacked experience. Not that the credit belonged to the team. But that it was not simple. Saturday morning at 8, I arrived at 20 Technology. The receptionist led me into a conference room. General Director Tun was already there. He was over 50, lean, with sharp eyes. Shu Lin. General Director Tun. Have a seat. He pointed to the chair across from him. I've reviewed your resume. There are a few questions I'd like to ask directly. Please. You worked at your previous company for 3 years. Why were you never promoted? Straight to the point. I liked that. My former supervisor believed I wasn't qualified enough. What do you think? I think the work I did deserved better treatment. General Director Tun looked at me without speaking. The East China supply chain system increased efficiency by 35%. I executed it alone. In 3 years, there were 0 incidents and 0 client complaints. Your former company's website says it was the achievement of the entire team. That's correct. Doesn't that bother you? It does. I met his gaze. That's why I resigned. General Director Tun smiled. Shu Lin, do you know why I sought you out? I don't. Because last year your company had a project that was on the verge of collapse. In the end, you flew to Hangzhou alone and resolved it in 3 days. He paused. At the time, I was in the conference room next door. I remembered. The client had suddenly changed their mind and wanted to terminate the contract. General Director Tran had told me to go, see what I could do. Without giving me any resources, I carried my laptop to Hangzhou alone, stayed for 3 days, and finally secured the contract. After I returned, at the all-hands meeting, General Director Tran praised the team's collective effort and never mentioned my name. Shu Lin, I need someone who can take responsibility. General Director Tun said, Vong Tin has already discussed compensation with you. Annual salary 500 yuan. Plus project commission. If you perform well, next year it can go up to 800,000. 800,000 yuan, 10 times my current salary. Shu Lin, do you have any other questions? Yes. I held his gaze. If I achieve results, who gets the credit? General Director Tun froze for a second, then burst into laughter. Shu Lin, here, whoever does the work gets the credit. He looked at me steadily. That's my rule. I stood up and extended my hand. General Director Tun, I accept the offer. He shook my hand. Welcome aboard. After leaving 20 Technology, I texted Vong Tin. It's done. Congratulations, she replied immediately. I knew General Director Tun would choose you. I stood by the roadside and took a deep breath. 3 years, I had finally walked out. My phone rang again. An unfamiliar number. Hello? Shu Lin, this is Sister Li. It was the finance director's voice. General Director Tran asked me to check whether your resignation procedures could be postponed a bit. Postponed? Well, she sounded uneasy. About your supply chain system. True Tuyat can't take it over. General Director Tran is wondering if you could stay an extra 2 months to guide her. You'd still be paid. The 5,000 yuan performance bonus would also be given to you. 5,000 yuan. 2 weeks ago, he said I didn't deserve it. Now he was willing to pay. Sister Li, please tell General Director Tran that my handover list is written very clearly. If she doesn't understand it, that's her problem. Shu Lin, there's more. I cut her off. Didn't General Director Tran always say the project was the team's achievement? If it belonged to the team, then anyone on the team should be able to take it over. Silence on the other end. Sister Li, I have things to do. I'm hanging up. Shu Lin. I ended the call. Standing under the sunlight, I suddenly felt light. 3 years of grievance, 3 years of endurance, finally. I could let them go. During the 2 weeks before starting my new job, I began handing over my work. In the end, General Director Tran did not sign off on True Tuyat taking over. Instead, he designated Old Wang from the technical department. Old Wang was over 50 and had worked at the company for 8 years. He was gentle and kind. Shu Lin, this system of yours? He stared at the operation manual, his face full of distress. I really can't understand it. Take your time reading it. Can you leave your contact information? If there's something I don't understand later, can I ask you? I thought for a moment. Yes, but only about work-related issues. Of course, of course. Thank you. On the 3rd day of the handover, General Director Tran called me into his office again. This time, his attitude was completely different from 2 weeks ago. Shu Lin, sit. He poured me a cup of tea. You've worked hard lately. I didn't touch the tea. General Director, if you have something to say, please say it directly. Well, he rubbed his hands together. That supply chain algorithm model of yours, could you leave it with the company? I looked at him. Which algorithm model? The one you proposed before. I heard you've been developing it privately. I laughed. General Director, 3 years ago I proposed that idea. You said it wasn't necessary. 2 years ago I proposed it again. You said there was no budget. Shu Lin, the company really? I interrupted him. That algorithm was developed on my personal time. Using my personal computer. It has nothing to do with the company. His expression changed. Shu Lin, everything you create while employed here belongs intellectually to the company. General Director, you might want to review my employment contract. I stood up. There's no non-compete clause and no intellectual property transfer clause. And one more thing. I looked at him. If you had been willing to invest resources at the beginning, that algorithm would already belong to the company. Shu Lin, he slammed the desk. Don't think that just because you leave here you can accomplish anything. In this industry, I calmly interrupted. I'll be joining 20 Technology next Monday. I was personally interviewed by General Director Tun. His expression turned complicated. 20 Technology, an industry giant, with a market value 100 times larger than his company. Do you have anything else to say? He said nothing. I walked out of his office. There was no sound of objects being thrown behind me. Perhaps he regretted it too much to smash anything. On my last day at work, I cleaned my desk thoroughly. From start to finish, True Tuyet didn't say a single word to me. Old Wang, on the other hand, personally brought me a box of chocolates. Shu Lin, if anything comes up in the future, tell me. Thank you, Wang. You're a good kid, he sighed. What a pity. A pity for what? A pity that I had stayed here for 3 years? Or a pity that General Director Tran hadn't recognized my value sooner? I carried my cardboard box out of the company gates. The sun was shining brightly. I turned back and looked at the building. Goodbye. On my first day at 20 Technology, General Director Tun personally showed me around. Shu Lin, your desk is over there. He pointed to a spot near the window. If you need anything, tell administration. Yes. Oh, right. He stopped. That algorithm model of yours, may I take a look? I paused. General Director, how did you know? Vong Tin told me. He smiled. She said you have a treasure. Just lacking the opportunity to use it. That headhunter was more formidable than I thought. General Director, I can show you, I said, but I have one condition. Go ahead. If this model is implemented, I want authorship credit. Of course. He looked at me steadily. Shu Lin, here, credit belongs to whoever achieves it. I don't take credit from others. I nodded. I'll present it this afternoon. At 3 o'clock, I opened the algorithm model in the conference room. In addition to General Director Tun, there were the Technical Director, the Operations Director, and 3 project managers. I spent 2 full hours explaining the core logic of the model. When I finished, the room was silent for several seconds. The Technical Director was the first to speak. Shu Lin, if this model runs successfully, our supply chain efficiency can increase by at least 40%. 40%, exactly as I had predicted. General Director, the Operations Director turned to Tun. This must be implemented as soon as possible. General Director Tun looked at me. Shu Lin, what do you need? Manpower, funding, time. Be specific. A 5-person team, starting capital of 2 million yuan. 6 months. I'll give you 8 people. 3 million yuan, and 4 months. He stood up. Can you do it? I looked at him. 4 months was 2 months shorter than my estimate, but resources were increased by 60%. I can. Good. He patted my shoulder. Shu Lin, I think highly of you. That night, I worked until 11. No one forced me. I volunteered. For the first time, I felt excited about my work. In the second month after the project began, I received an unexpected call. Shu Lin, it's True Tuyet. I was slightly surprised. What is it? It's like this. Her voice was awkward. General Director Tran asked me to ask you whether that algorithm of yours could be sold to us. I almost laughed. For how much? 200,000 yuan. My current annual salary was 500 yuan. That algorithm, even under conservative valuation, was worth at least 5 million. True Tuyet, tell General Director Tran for me, I'm not selling. Shu Lin, don't be so rigid, there's also. I cut her off. Next time there's something, tell General Director Tran to call me himself. You're not his secretary. I hung up. To be honest, there was some anger, but more than that, a sense of absurdity. 3 years ago, I had begged General Director Tran to invest in this project, and he refused. 3 years later, he wanted to spend 200 yuan to buy it back. There is nothing more ironic in this world than that. That evening, I told General Director Tun about it. Interesting. He shook his head as he laughed. Tran Kai Vi? I've known him since I was young. narrow-minded and obsessed with saving face. You know him? 15 years ago, we worked at the same company. General Director Tun leaned back in his chair. At the time, I was his subordinate. I looked at him in surprise. Later, I resigned to start my own business. He laughed at me and said I didn't know my place. He smiled faintly. Now his company isn't even worth 1% of mine. General Director, why did you leave back then? For the same reason you did. He looked at me steadily. I wasn't recognized. I fell silent. Shu Lin, the most important thing in a career isn't hard work. It's choice. He spoke calmly. Choose the right platform. Choose the right leader. Otherwise, no matter how hard you work, it's useless. He stood up. Enough about that. How's the project progressing? On schedule. Any difficulties? Not at the moment. Good. He walked to the door. Then turned back to look at me. Shu Lin, keep it up. There will be a place for you in this company. His position. 3 years ago, General Director Tran had said something similar. But his so-called place meant keeping me as a tool forever. General Director Tun's place meant allowing me to stand independently and take responsibility. That was the difference. In the 3rd month of the project, a major problem arose. The algorithm ran flawlessly in the testing environment. But once applied in reality, the data didn't align. For 3 consecutive days, my team worked overtime until 2 in the morning. And we still couldn't find the cause. Our lead engineer, Tiu Li, looked exhausted. Could it be that our entire approach was wrong from the start? I stared at the code on the screen without speaking. 3 years of effort couldn't be wrong. There had to be something we'd overlooked. Tiu Li, pull all the logs. I'll review everything from the beginning. Shu Lin, it's already 2 a.m. I know. I rubbed my temples. Everyone go home and rest. I'll handle this. That's not right. It's an order. After they left, I faced the computer alone, reading through every line of logs. 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., when dawn began to glow outside the window. I finally found the issue. It wasn't the algorithm, it was the data source. The client-provided dataset had 3 incorrect fields. I texted Tiu Li, found it. The error is in the client's data. 10 minutes later, he replied, I'll contact them immediately. Wait, I typed. Get some sleep first. We'll handle it at 9. I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes briefly. I was sleepy but not tired. The problem had been solved. That feeling, I had rarely experienced it in the past 3 years. Under General Director Tran, solving a problem was expected. A problem occurring was my fault. Now, solving a problem was an achievement, if one arose. The whole team carried it together. At 9, I washed my face and went to the office. General Director Tun was already waiting in the conference room. I heard you worked until 5 this morning. General Director, how did you know? Administration told me. He frowned. Shu Lin, your health is your capital. I understand. It won't happen again. Tell me what happened. I explained the situation. When I mentioned the client's incorrect data, his expression darkened. Such a careless mistake. I've asked Tiu Li to contact them. No need. He picked up his phone. I'll call directly. 15 minutes later, the person in charge on the client's side personally apologized and promised to send someone on site to work with us. After hanging up, General Director Tun said, in the future, leave matters like this to me. Your time shouldn't be wasted on trivialities. I looked at him. 3 years ago, when it was also the client's fault, General Director Tran had sent me alone to Hangzhou to fix it. 3 years later, General Director Tun resolved it with a single phone call. That was the power of a platform, and the stature of a leader. Thank you, General Director. For what? He waved it off. Finish the project. That's the best thanks. The project entered its 4th month. 2 major events happened that month. The first, my algorithm was officially deployed. Test data showed supply chain efficiency had increased by 42%. Even higher than projected. General Director Tun announced the news at the company-wide meeting. Today, I want to commend someone. He stood on the stage. Shu Lin. All eyes in the auditorium turned toward me. 4 months ago, Shu Lin joined us with an algorithm model. 4 months later, that model increased our supply chain efficiency by 42%. Applause thundered through the hall. Shu Lin, say a few words. I stepped onto the stage. Below me was a sea of people. I don't have much to say. I held the microphone and spoke only one sentence. Here, effort is rewarded. The applause grew even louder. I saw several colleagues wiping their eyes. Perhaps they were remembering their own past grievances. Starting today, General Director Tun took back the microphone. Shu Lin is promoted to Deputy Director of the Supply Chain Department. Deputy Director. 4 months after joining the company, I had risen 2 levels in succession. It was something I had never dared to imagine before. The second event, General Director Tran's company ran into trouble. I learned about it from old Wang's phone call. Shu Lin, something big happened. His voice was anxious. Your supply chain system collapsed. Collapsed? After True Tuyet took over, she modified some parameters. The entire system became paralyzed. What parameters? I don't know. She didn't tell me. She just changed them herself. Old Wang sighed. Now the clients are furious. General Director Tran is losing his mind. I was silent for a moment. This had nothing to do with me anymore. I know. He hesitated. Shu Lin, since you left, the company's been in chaos. How so? General Director takes his anger out on everyone. In the past 2 months, 8 people have resigned. True Tuyet is planning to leave too. Not sure where she's going. I heard she's applying everywhere. I hung up. I didn't feel triumphant, just absurd. It took me 3 years to build that system. It took them 2 months to destroy it. That night, I received a message. It was from General Director Tran. Shu Lin, let's talk. I looked at the message and laughed. I didn't reply. What was left to say? Back then, he said I wasn't worth 5 yuan. Now he came looking for me because I was worth respect? Sorry, not needed anymore. I ignored his message, but he didn't give up. The next day, I saw him downstairs at my company. He stood in the lobby. Suit immaculate, but he looked noticeably worn. General Director Tran, what are you doing here? I came to see you. I checked my watch. 5 minutes. We sat at a cafe nearby. Shu Lin, I'll be direct. He went straight to the point. Your system collapsed. I need you to come back. I looked at him. Under what terms? Vice President position. Annual salary 300 yuan. Plus commission. 4 months ago, he hadn't wanted to give me 5.000. General Director Tran, you're too late. Shu Lin. My current salary is 500 yuan. I said, next year it may be 800.000. His expression changed. Shu Lin, remember, I trained you personally. I nodded. You trained me for 3 years. You rated me C for 3 years. Was that training? Shu Lin. I cut him off. Do you know why I left? He said nothing. It wasn't because of 5 yuan. I looked at him. It was because with you, I never saw hope. When I achieved results, you said it was the team's effort. When I proposed ideas, you said they were unnecessary. When I wanted a promotion, you said I wasn't qualified. I stood up. General Director Tran, what you need isn't an employee. It's a tool. His face flushed red. Shu Lin, don't go too far. Too far? I smiled. I'm just telling the truth. Time's up. I picked up my bag. General Director Tran, you should go back. I left the cafe without turning around. Behind me, I heard the crash of a cup being thrown. 3 years ago, I was afraid of him. 3 years later, I wasn't. Because I knew my value no longer needed to be defined by him. The news of General Director Tran coming to see me quickly spread through the industry. Some said I was ungrateful. Others said I deserved this day. I didn't care. The people who truly mattered stood on my side. General Director Tun called me into his office. I heard Tran Kai V came looking for you. Yes. What did he say? He wanted me to return. Offered 300 yuan. General Director Tun laughed. And your answer? I refused. Why? I thought for a moment. Because it's not worth it. Not enough money? No. I looked at him. Even if he offered 500 yuan, I wouldn't go back. Why? Because he wouldn't change. I told myself that today he bowed his head because he needed me. Tomorrow, when he no longer needed me, he would turn me back into a mere tool. Tong Jiam Dok Tun nodded. Shu Lin, do you know why I trust you? I don't. Because you know what you want. That matters more than anything. That afternoon, the company posted an announcement. I was officially appointed director of the supply chain department. My annual salary was adjusted to 800.000. Plus a year-end bonus. When I read the notice, I was sitting at my desk organizing files. My colleagues immediately gathered around to congratulate me. Congratulations, Director Chu. Director Chu, you have to look out for us from now on. I smiled and responded to each of them. Director Chu, it had taken me only 4 months to earn this title. At my previous company, I might never have reached it in a lifetime. That evening, when I got home and opened my phone, a news alert popped up. A supply chain company had suffered a cash flow collapse. The founder, surnamed Tran, was accused of owing employees unpaid wages. I tapped on the article. As expected, it was Tong Jiam Doc Tran. The report said that after the system collapsed, the company's largest client withdrew funding, cutting off cash flow. The company was now millions in debt and being pursued by creditors. I felt no sense of satisfaction reading it, only irony. 3 years ago he had said he would lead me to success. 3 years later, he had led himself into bankruptcy. As for me, I no longer needed him. Another 3 months passed. A lot had happened during that time. My algorithm was deployed across the entire company, increasing efficiency by 50%. Tong Jiam Doc Tun nominated me to join the company's core management team. I moved into a new apartment. The down payment came from my own savings. Meanwhile, Tong Jiam Doc Tran's company officially declared bankruptcy and entered liquidation. I learned the news from a call from Lao Vong. Shu Lin, Tong Jiam Doc Tran is finished. He sighed over the phone. Bankrupt. Yeah. Aren't you surprised? No, I said sooner or later. True Tuyat quit too. I heard she went to a small company. Oh. Shu Lin, are you doing well now? Very well. That's good. He sighed again. When you left, I knew you would surpass all of us someday. Anne Vong, if you want to change jobs, you can send me your resume. Really? Really? That's great. Thank you, Shu Lin. After we hung up, I leaned back in my chair and looked out at the night beyond the window. 1 year. It had been exactly 1 year since I left that company. 1 year ago, I was the employee they looked down on. The one they said wasn't worth 5 yuan. 1 year later, I was a department director earning 800,000 a year. Sometimes I wondered what would have happened if I had endured it back then. If I had accepted that 5 yuan and stayed, I would probably still be exploited. Still serving as someone else's tool. Still unable to see any hope. Fortunately, I didn't. My phone rang. It was a video call from my mother. Lin, have you eaten? Yes. Your dad says come home this weekend. He misses you. Okay. She leaned closer to the camera. That old boss of yours. The one named Tran? Tong Jiam Doc Tran. What about him? I saw his name on the news today. They said his company went bankrupt. Her voice carried a strange note. Didn't he say before that you were useless? Yeah. Serves him right. She snorted. The way he treated my daughter. Karma was bound to catch up with him. I laughed. Mom, don't say things like that. I'm just saying, she muttered. Go to bed early. Don't stay up too late. After hanging up, I continued gazing out at the window. The night view was beautiful. The city was vast, and my story was only just beginning. 1 year later, I sat in my new office, looking at the report in my hand, when there was a knock at the door. Director Chu, someone is here to see you. Who? A woman. She says she's your former colleague. Former colleague? I stepped out of my office and saw a familiar figure. True Tuyat looked far more worn down than before, wearing an old coat and holding a resume. When she saw me, her expression was complicated. Long time no see. Long time no see. She bit her lip. I want to ask if your company is hiring. I looked at her. 3 years ago, I had taught her how to write functions. 2 years ago, I had carried a month's worth of her workload. 1 year ago, she had taken credit for my achievements. Our company has a recruitment process. You can submit your resume. Shu Lin, I know what happened before. If you have the ability, the hiring committee will evaluate you. She froze, perhaps not expecting that answer. Shu Lin, now you. I'm very busy. I glanced at my watch. Is there anything else? Her lips moved, but in the end she said nothing. Then I'll go. Take care. I watched her back as she walked away. I felt nothing, no hatred, no forgiveness. I simply didn't want any further connection. That evening after work, I received a message from Tu Vong Tin, a headhunter. Director Chu, congratulations. I heard Tong Jiam Doc Tun is about to promote you to vice president. I laughed softly. Vice President. 1 year ago, I had been an ordinary employee earning 8,000 a month. 1 year later, I was a candidate for Vice President, with an annual salary of over 1 million. That's how the world works. Your value isn't decided by someone else. It's determined by the choices you make. I chose to leave. I chose to believe in myself. That's why I received the results I deserved. On my way home, I passed a convenience store. An old song was playing inside. I couldn't remember the exact lyrics. Something about how he once promised to love her forever. It reminded me of Tong Jiam Doc Tran. 3 years ago, he had said something similar. Shu Lin, work hard. The company won't treat you unfairly. And what was the result? For 3 consecutive years, he rated me C and said I wasn't worth 5 yuan. And now, he was bankrupt, and I was standing exactly where I belonged. I pushed open my front door. The hallway light switched on automatically. This was my home, my own home. 3 years ago, I wouldn't have dared to dream of this. My phone rang again. Another video call from my mother. Lin, are you coming home for dinner this weekend? Yes. Your dad says he'll make braised pork for you. That sounds great. Her voice suddenly turned secretive. The neighbor, Uncle Vong, introduced a young man to me. Okay, stop. She laughed and hung up. I stood by the window, looking at the city lights. 1 year ago, when I left that company, I had nothing. 1 year later, I had my career, my home, my own life, and all of it began with choosing to believe in myself. I chose to leave a place that didn't deserve me. I chose a platform worthy of me. Outside the window, the city lights blazed brilliantly. I knew tomorrow would bring new challenges. But it didn't matter. I was no longer someone afraid of losing everything. I knew my value never needed anyone else's definition. It only needed my own. My phone screen lit up with a new message. Shu Lin, this is Tong Jiam Doc Tun Bao. Next Monday we'll discuss the vice president position. I looked at the message and smiled. A new beginning. A completely new me. That's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like the video, subscribe to China Story Tales, and stay tuned for more stories.